Here we go.
I feel like.
Wow. So episode.
Hold on. We're not.
You can do that.
I feel like I'm all crunched up and my roll is there.
I knew you were gonna hate that seat.
Oh,
Man.
I hate this fucking seat. You know what? I'm gonna crop in.
What do you mean?
I'm gonna put our lower thirds, our names, right, so it covers my, so it covers my stuff.
And for our viewers out there, this is meant to be a podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
True.
Where are we hosting this? YouTube, maybe?
Well, the video will be on
gonna get the
YouTube.
visual.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
The pod itself will be on.
in our tag, our email address or whatever our account, which should be, tell you what podcast.
I'll tell you what podcast at gmail.com.
Oh.
What-
Write
okay,
in for any questions, concerns.
Is
Yes.
there an apostrophe or no apostrophe?
No.
So it's really ill, tell you what.
Ooh.
I just don't want people to
Good
email the
point.
wrong group.
You're
Okay.
you're not wrong.
Yeah, all right. Ill tell you what at
Ill tell you
All
what.
right, and for our listeners out there, you are here listening to our podcast. I'll tell you what.
I'll tell you what.
I'm Chad Richardson.
I am Caitlin Amaral.
And I am Elliot Haney.
Yeah, so we are three great friends, again, bringing you a conversation that we have amongst ourselves, a little bit of topic chat, if you will.
It's a conversational
the
pod.
plan.
We're
Yeah.
gonna bring thoughts, ideas. We're gonna get a little deep. We're gonna get a little scary.
Mailbag.
Hopefully, we can get a mailbag. Honestly, if you know us, if you support us, send in a question.
Yeah.
You know,
Or a
if you need some
donation.
advice, a donation. We'll set up the Patreon in future.
If Mr. Rogers,
Future
if
weeks.
Blues Clues could do it, we can do
Hey,
it.
you're right. Did Mr. Rogers have a mailbag, or was that just
Well,
Steve?
Mr. Whatever would come around and do stuff.
Oh, right.
I don't know.
Yeah, there was a
Deliver the mail.
mailman. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you either of you seen that that movie, the Mr.
Oh yeah.
Was it
yeah.
good? What's the name
No.
of it?
Won't you be my neighbor? I
That's
believe.
it.
Yep.
That's a great name.
And then I
Well,
believe there is
that
a
was the name
biopic
of the
coming
show.
out
I understand.
that Tom Hanks is going to play
I
Fred Rogers.
saw that.
I am excited for
Wait,
that.
Mr. Rogers' first name was Fred?
Yeah.
Wow.
He was the he had the heart and soul of Pittsburgh.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's right.
You know?
Yeah.
Mhm.
one of
People
your-
loved him.
One of yours.
Yeah. So my dad was born and raised in Pittsburgh, and Mr. Rogers was like a hero to everybody.
Oh yeah.
People
Huh.
loved Mr. Rogers.
Yeah,
I mean, they
I'll
loved
bet.
him everywhere, but in Pittsburgh specifically, he was like an angel
A lot of cardigan sweaters.
all over the place.
Yeah.
That makes
All
complete
over the
sense.
place.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, very much so.
What were we talking about?
I have no idea.
Me neither.
Oh, the mail.
Oh,
So
right,
if people
yeah.
want to send us mail. You can do it electronically if you want. We
To
don't have the
ill-
PO box
ill
set up
tell you
quite
what.
yet. Yeah.
At
At
gmail.com.
gmail.com.
It'll tell you what podcast.
Oh,
At
yeah,
gmail.com.
that
That's
will probably go
crucial.
to one of the other podcasts.
There are
with the same
many.
name.
So, frankly, if you're hearing this now, you've already done a great service to us by finding
You
it.
made
Yeah.
it to our front door.
And in case
Welcome
anyone was
in.
confused, this is what zero prep sounds like.
Oh, hey.
But not
Hey,
looks like.
No,
'cause
no,
this
no, no.
whole-
I would say just above zero prep. We talked about
All
it.
right, that's fair. Yeah.
If
And
you're
so-
watching the video, tons of prep.
Yeah.
A lot of prep, a lot of work.
Mhm.
A lot of work has been done.
The legs of these tables have come off and gone right back on.
Ooh, yes. How easy it is to put IKEA furniture together is just how easy it is to take it apart and put it back
Exactly.
together.
I'll tell you what, this is actually, it's a level below IKEA furniture, if you
Where-
can believe it.
where
This
you
is
at?
Kmart furniture.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I didn't know they had a home line.
I don't know if they have any line anymore. Didn't they close?
Oh,
or
yeah, when they went
closing?
bankrupt,
Ooh,
yeah.
because
Yeah,
they're
you're
part
right.
of Sears. And
Oh, are they?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow. A bygone era.
Who knew?
This-
Sears, once mighty, now has fallen.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. You could order a house through Sears.
What?
Once upon a time. Yeah. Like when it was a catalog, I want to buy that house, and you would get everything it takes to
In the
put together
mail?
a house. Yeah. Or like they would
Mail order
deliver it,
house.
Yeah.
Wow.
This is back like turn of the century.
Okay.
Not like our century, the one before.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay. So not Y2K.
No,
Oh,
the,
Y2K.
the
It was Y
1.9K.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same wavelength. I like
It
that
took a
chat.
while for people to freak out about that. Like they sent out the message, but
Yeah.
the Pony Express is like, oh, apparently they were worried about this 3 months ago.
And then if you weren't home. Oh, boy.
Well,
Here we are.
Yeah,
here we
Y2K.
are. So,
Woohoo.
what is our goal here? What are we doing
With this podcast?
with this podcast? Like,
Yeah.
we are all 30 somethings,
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
early 30 somethings.
Yes. Good nuance.
We work together.
Yes.
We have all worked together for This is totally
This is
unprofessional.
really unprofessional, Jack.
I'm screening the call.
We talked about putting our phones on
I
silent
said,
before the.
everybody's phone
Okay.
is on silent.
Yeah.
I
Well,
thought
now
I
I feel
did.
like
I
maybe I
thought I
should turn
did.
my ringer on.
Well,
Let
let's
me
just all get
see.
on our phones and
Oh.
text for a little bit.
Well, they hung up.
Yeah.
Okay.
I screened it. So my phone, I can screen my phone calls like
Right.
I'm what's her
Because
name?
you're a Pixel user.
Yes.
What do you mean?
Like
Google.
Gwen Stefani. Yeah.
Gwen Stefani
She's
screens
the
your phone
voice?
calls?
Well, no, but you know the song. I'm screening my phone calls.
Oh, like the way back, no
Yeah.
doubt.
Sorry, I can't talk right now.
I'm walking on the spider webs. Leave a message and I'll call
Is
you
that actually the
back.
lyrics to the song?
Something like that, yeah.
Probably. I don't
Yeah.
think that's something you'd make
Wow.
up.
But
Well.
Pixel phones, like you can see, because there's so many of those spam calls. Which
Sure. I've been getting a ton of those
Yeah.
recently, and
Yeah.
frankly, I'm an Apple iPhone user. Is user the right word? I don't know.
Haver?
I have an Apple
Yeah.
iPhone, like most people in this country.
I'm
Not,
glad
not
you
most,
said
not most
Apple,
people.
that way people
not
don't
most
confuse
people at
the
this
other phone.
table.
You're correct. You
Yeah.
guys are both
You're
insane.
outnumbered.
But I do wish I had that feature. I've been getting a ton of
Government shutdown.
Right.
For those of you
Oh, I
listening,
saw
watching this later, what are we in 26,
19.
27 of the
Oh,
federal
28?
government shutdown?
I thought you were
or-
talking about the year.
This is 2019.
well, I mean, when they come back to the archives, yeah, that'll be
Yeah,
important.
28 maybe.
Let's just hope we can get to a place where we have archives. You know,
Mm.
we'll get a couple episodes under our belt, and then we have some archives.
Yeah, and then we can do one of those like year in review kind of things, like
Absolutely.
all the funny moments.
Because-
So it'll be a short episode.
This is January, so this kind of is like our New Year's resolution is to do
It was-
something.
it was
our New
we
Year's
talked about it, Yeah, we
resolution.
want to
And-
come together and do it.
Yeah, so we're doing it. You know,
Yeah.
I feel pleased.
You know, yeah, I will say when we committed to that while drinking at Coda,
Ooh,
see, see this, I didn't put a lot of stock into it, let's just say that. But now here we are. And
well, you should trust us now.
yeah.
There was something that I was saying before your phone so rudely interrupted
Yeah,
us. What
gosh,
was that?
That got us way off track, Chad.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Chad.
It might have been an important call. That
Oh, I
we're
was
like,
asking who we are.
Oh,
Who
yeah.
are we? What do we do? What are we doing now? We all work together.
Yes.
We've worked together for years.
Yes.
We've all been at our organization. I've been there for almost 10 years. You've been there for
Somewhere around there, maybe.
I think
9 years,
yeah,
but you had a
essentially
little
same.
break in between to go get your fancy
a little
education.
dance break, yep.
Mm.
And you've been there for same time
same
as
as
me.
you. Yep.
So we worked together. We used to be part of like a really cool club. There were a lot of us. That we were all the young crew.
Rolled deep.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
rolled deep everywhere we went, and then people just started moving on, finding new careers, new jobs, new
Yeah.
opportunities,
Yeah.
more success. And the three of us just kind of hung around.
Yeah.
So now-
barnacles, like barnacles.
So what was once like a kind of a deep crew is now three.
Yep.
So we figured,
Yeah,
But
you're
it's
right.
33
Well,
because like we're like the rocks in the like current. So like other people around us come and go, but we're still there.
but we
and
got
then
nowhere to go. Yeah.
And then we see each
yeah.
other and we're like,
I like
they're
that.
still here.
Yeah.
We have nowhere to go.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's plenty.
But you
of
know what?
places
We
to
could bust
go.
up a bunch of holes.
We could.
Some boats, they don't know where they're going.
Mm-hmm. No lighthouse
No
apparently on
lighthouse.
these rocks.
Yeah.
Watch out.
Watch out.
That got a little inside, but
Ooh.
but yeah. So that's who we are.
Well, now I don't feel great.
You feel like your life has passed you by. Now you're in your 30s.
Yeah, I'm going to be up all night tossing and turning on that one, Elliot. Thank you.
You're welcome. I just want to make sure the listeners and the viewers know who they're talking to.
Context
You know?
is really important. Yeah.
But I do want to stress, I would love questions. I would love, like from the listeners.
Yeah, sure.
I would
Because
love-
who is better positioned to give advice?
I want to be an advice giver. I want to be. I want to
I
be.
could see that.
I want to be authority on something. You know.
Yeah, but Elliot, I think that you are an authority on a lot of things.
Yeah.
Nothing that you should have authority on, but you speak you speak with a
speak
lot
with
of
it, yes.
confidence about things you know nothing
I have
about. so-
conviction and confidence
Yeah.
in
Mhm.
3 things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's.
That's the baseline.
that's the
And like
basis.
people will get to know us a little bit more as time goes on.
Sure.
I mean, that's my favorite thing about podcast listening. You know, a lot of
Yeah.
people listen to podcasts that like educate
Yeah.
or tell a story. I
Yeah.
listen to a ton of podcasts where people are just talking,
Yep. Okay.
and you feel like you get to know them. And I hope the people, the 10 to 12 people that listen to
And
this
already know us. Yep.
and already know us, feel like they get to know us a little better.
Sure.
And do become a part of the conversation.
Okay.
That's what I'm hoping for.
All right. So this is like a
Okay.
what we're hoping for kind of segment that we're doing right
I
now?
guess.
Well,
That's kinda what it's morphed
okay.
into.
I mean, I want to make a lot of money off this thing. That's why.
Ooh, yes.
Speaking of which, thank you to our sponsors, Pabst Blue Ribbon. Chad, why don't you say a few words about Pabst Blue Ribbon?
Pabst Blue Ribbon is a first place winning beer. That's right. It was the best beer in 1893. And once you win it, you can quit
You
it.
can always put a blue ribbon on your can.
That's
Oh,
right.
man. It's so crisp and clean and refreshing and timeless in its flavor.
Timeless, yeah.
Like, you know it's a beer.
Yeah,
and
it's
gonna
timeless
be
in
a
that
beer.
it'll always taste like college.
You know,
you were money bags in college. PBR, that was like,
It was it?
I don't know.
that's when it
maybe.
started becoming
Yeah,
like
I think
hipster
so.
fab.
Sure.
I actually got into it after college, like just briefly after, and then I've been rocking it since.
And it's been a love affair for the ages ever
yeah,
since.
my
right?
wife is not so thrilled about it. She's like, "Cool, let's get some beer." I'm like, "I'll have PBR." And she's like, I'm gonna get something else.
So,
So
should we?
I think we're in good space to hop
let's,
into our
let's
first
jump
topic.
into the meat of the show,
Yeah, so
where
we're
each of
gonna-
us bring a topic. Sorry.
Mhm.
Go
No,
ahead.
yeah, no,
Please, I insist.
Okay. Like Elliot was starting to say, and then I started to interrupt him.
Well, he deserves a taste of his medicine.
Ooh. We need a burn, like.
we can do some sound effects.
It's like a
I'll add
sizzle.
those in
Can we do a
post.
little sizzle?
I'll do a sizzle.
All right.
I don't want to do a sizzle.
So we're gonna do these
I did
conversations, maybe a little bit of banter in the beginning. We'll fumble our way through, but the idea is that each of us brings a conversation, and we work through the topics of those conversations. And start out by like tossing out maybe our phrase, "I'll tell you what," to introduce the topic to the table. So with that all going, who wants to be the first one to
I have a
practice
topic.
egg?
Okay.
All right.
I
Let's
will
hear it.
bring the first topic to
Shoot.
the table. Now that I say it, it actually doesn't fit in with the "I'll tell you what."
Well,
I think it's okay.
it's like
I think
Jeopardy.
okay.
It's like Jeopardy.
See,
You gotta,
if you
like,
don't
figure
say it
how-
out loud, the audience doesn't really think it.
True,
So let's,
but
yeah.
Chad just said it. Anyway, I'll tell you what.
Yeah, fair.
Edit that out.
You know what? I'll fix it. We're not editing it out. This is a straight through.
Like
Yeah.
do like a Jeopardy. Like
I
figure out
can
how to
make it
ask
work.
any
I can make it work.
question.
Okay, here we go. I'll tell you what. First jobs are tough.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
How about it? Okay.
Yeah.
So my topic is basically, let's talk about our first jobs. Let's talk about
Jeez. Okay.
our high school jobs. Maybe you didn't work until college. I don't know. But bring your funny ideas. Bring your experiences. What were your first jobs, Chad? Tell me. What was your first job?
I think the earliest actual job was like delivering papers, but it's not the one that I think stands out as like
Right,
the job.
right.
My first one I would say was working at a
paperboy.
ski hill near my hometown as like general maintenance, lift operator, and
God.
snowmaker.
Chad, I never knew this
Yeah,
about you.
I did not know this either.
Wow.
Yeah, so like the more you know now.
more
My dad
you
like did
know.
some seasonal work with them, so he got me hooked up with it. Like
What did your
pre-season.
dad do?
He like made snow off and on.
So you were a snowmaker's son.
Legacy,
Yeah.
yes. And when I turned 16, got the opportunity and got hooked in. And so I did like preseason maintenance underneath the lift. I had to go and like weed whip all of
Weed
the
whip?
like all of the brush that had grown over the summer underneath the like 2 or 3 lifts that we had. And so I had this like old rickety weed whacker that they had a carbide tip blade like attached to so it could cut through like small sapling trees. And I remember one time I was like climbing up and down the like face of this pretty steep hill. 'Cause
Sure,
hill,
ski,
like,
yeah.
there's a lift going
Black
up it.
Diamond.
Whooping, and like the blade came loose and went sailing
Oh my
down
God.
the hill and like stuck into a log somewhere. So I'm so lucky that it sailed away from
And
me
not towards you?
and not like towards my shin.
Also
and
lucky
caught
that
my-
We
it
could have
didn't-
never known Chad.
What if it sailed towards another person? And
Yeah,
That's
but
true.
Yeah,
That's
that's
true.
either way, it's a challenge.
Yeah.
I did not know that this was your job.
Yeah. And so like I would drive like 4-wheelers around to go like check on stuff, do that kind of thing. And then once the season started, I would like I helped to make snow early in the season. And so that was like overnights plugging fire
You were an
hoses into like
overnight
these giant
snowmaker.
fans. And then like part of the job was just going and like whacking them because they'd freeze up a little bit and like hitting them with a metabar. And then once the season was up and running, I was a lift operator, like helping kids get on and like pressing stop when they fell down. So
So how old were
Wow.
you? Was this 15, 16?
16.
Okay.
Yeah, just old enough to drive. and
Okay.
Probably not old enough to work overnights, but you know. So I made an extra 25 cents an hour as a lift operator because I knew how to make snow.
Wow.
Well, because you were a legacy.
Yep.
Yeah.
You learned from the best.
Mhm.
Back when we started working, I know at least for my job, I made minimum wage, which was $5.15.
Oh, really?
Yeah. What did you make at this job?
I feel like I made
Whatever it was, add 25 cents.
maybe 7 something. So maybe like
Wow.
maybe base rate was like 7.25 and I made
Wow.
7.75 or something
Good
like
for
that.
you, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right, Chad.
You're making the big bucks.
Seriously, how impressive.
Chad has stayed impressive his entire
I
life,
know,
starting at
well,
16.
that's
Well,
right.
Much before 16.
Much before 16.
What about you?
My first job.
Yeah.
I think the story by which I arrived at my first job is probably a little more interesting than the first
love
job
it.
itself.
Okay.
So, okay. My first job was at it's like at a kitchen supply store.
Okay.
It's called Kitchens, etc.
Supplies? Oh.
No, etc. And I'm not entirely sure what the etc. was about because
Yeah.
pretty much everything there was kitchen.
Yeah.
So it seemed a bit like
Sometimes you gotta use
bombastic
a
on
knife in
their
the
part.
dining room.
Yes, but anyway, so I got my first job when I was 16 years old.
Okay.
16 and a half years
Sure.
old because I could.
Well, you
Ooh,
had
can
a
we
half a
pause
year.
for
I
a
had-
can open.
Yeah, sure. Take your time.
Okay.
That sounded
thanks.
refreshing.
So I was 16 and a half years old. It was August. I had been away for most of the summer, and which meant that I got my driver's license pretty late. So I was like hot to trot to get my driver's license. So I got back into town. I was there. All my friends had their driver's license. I wanted mine. So like, back in town, go to the DMV, get the license, thrilled. The day I got my driver's license was a Friday. My parents were going out of town. And
Watch out.
they were like, under no
Tingsboro party.
uncertain circumstances are you to drive the car. Like, you literally just got your license 3 hours ago. And, being for good reason, probably,
Sure.
not so trusting parents they were, they like took all the sets of car keys with them.
They didn't leave anything to chance.
When they went away. Well, Elliot, they forgot one.
Oh boy.
So there was,
Karen.
the one set that I found and decided, I'm going to take the car out. So I,
As you do.
yeah, and I had a friend, and like we're like, let's just drive. Who already had her driver's license for a while, so
Sure,
probably
sure.
But here I am, looking for a little fun. Drive the car, going around, doing this, doing that. We're supposed to go somewhere, pull into a parking lot at like a store to pick something up. All is well. Get back in the car. I'm driving my dad's Volvo station wagon. Backing out of the parking spot. Crunch. Slam into another car.
Of course.
No damage on the other car. So I kind of shrug my shoulders and say, don't ask, don't tell. A lot of damage on my dad.
That's crazy how it can
Car.
be so one-sided.
Yeah, so anyways.
Good for
you. Not
maybe?
really. So, whatever. Get back in the car, go back to my house, kind of freaking out. Like, what do I do? I don't know. Like, coming up with all these ideas. Like, what am I going to tell my parents? Had this whole story. Obviously didn't tell them while they were away. They get back. Pull into the driveway. Obviously see that something is very amiss with my dad's car. My dad was not like the disciplinarian growing up at all, right?
Not surprised to hear that.
So, I'm like, I wake up that morning and my dad is standing over me while I'm in bed. And he's like, what's going on? It's like, I don't know. It was an accident. It was me. Somebody hit me. But like, what a liar. A terrible liar. Never been a good liar. And he's like, all right, get dressed. He's like, we're going out. You're going to find a job right now. You're paying me back for all this. So we pounded the pavement out there.
Just handing in interviews,
Random,
like
anywhere.
picking up
anywhere,
interviews.
Any
Elliot.
store, and your dad's like, you got any
anywhere.
jobs? I got a
Yep.
kid that needs to work.
Exactly. That's exactly what it was. And that was the place that hired me. So and the rest was history, I guess, at least for a little while.
Wow. How long did you work there?
Gosh, I don't know. Probably a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you?
First of all, it took a while to pay that back when you're
Yeah.
making $7
how much? How
an
much
hour.
did you have to pay back? What was the fee?
Oh gosh,
How much
I
did
think
this
it
cost?
was maybe it was like $1,000.
What was your burden? $1,000.
Yeah.
That's That's tough when you're 15, 16.
Oh, sure is.
It's tough now.
Yeah, so that
But-
wasn't great. Literally, driver's license for 3 hours. We've been in.
Man.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was foolish,
Well,
but
have you had a lot of accidents since? Like
oh, I think I'm a good driver.
maybe
maybe
the
like
key
2.
maybe the key is to have an accident early.
Yeah, you got to get it out of the
So
way
it
that
makes
first
it
day.
makes you more cautious. It makes you like
Yeah,
pay a
maybe.
little more
Yeah,
attention.
but let me tell you, I was riding that school bus to school for
Oh,
all of junior year.
Yep.
I wasn't even allowed to get rides with friends to school. Not
Really?
even like I couldn't drive
You
to
weren't
school.
even allowed to be in a
No,
car.
my ass was on the bus.
And was this because of
yes.
Oh boy.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was
And you think you made 750, 725 around there?
Sure. I didn't make anything.
Okay.
My dad made $7.50 an hour.
Your dad made 750 an hour.
Yeah, because I was paying him back for this thing.
Yeah,
Oh,
she
okay,
didn't
okay,
keep
okay.
any
Yeah,
of that money.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
So,
excellent.
hey, you live and you learn.
And then you get loves. None of us are parents. I don't know why I
No.
said that.
Yeah.
Marketing, that's why. You've been.
Yeah, it's like
Commercials
it,
have been
it dug
ingrained
its
in
way
you.
into my brain
I'm
now.
surprised I never told you that story, either of you.
I
Hey.
heard something
heard
about
part of
like
it, yeah.
the first, like an
I'll-
accident early
I'll
on.
tell you
I was
what.
saving it for the
Ooh.
pod.
I'll
all
tell
these
you
years,
what.
yeah.
Even if no one's ever gonna listen to this, but we are learning more about each other.
That's true. That's
We're getting to know
nice,
each other.
yeah.
I didn't know you made snow.
Yeah.
I didn't
nor
know-
was he a snowmaker's son.
I didn't know that either.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
So my first job.
Gosh, settle in, everyone.
I'm trying to remember if I know this story
You
or not.
know what the job is.
Chad, you know the job.
Oh, I wasn't sure if there was something before that though.
I mean, I was an altar boy.
Ooh.
Like my whole.
Altar boy in Central PA. Or one
Okay.
of those kinds of podcasts.
This is a little
That's
diversion.
Not, that's not episode 2.
I
material.
say it's my first job. This is not my first job, but when you worked funerals and or weddings,
Oh.
you got tipped. It was like customary for the bride or the family to tip you, maybe a 20. One time I got a 50
Wow.
for a funeral or a wedding.
It was the 50 was for a funeral. Very
Ooh.
generous family.
Do you feel like funerals or weddings were more like generous overall?
I think the weddings were more generous because it was a more joyous occasion.
Okay,
Sure.
that's good.
In
That's
general,
good. That's what I like to hear.
But funny note about where I'm from, the movie. What was the movie about the Boston Globe
Spotlight.
Spotlight?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oscar-winning movie. At the end of the movie, when they, it's like the real life, like they show the people, the list of cities where like priests were found to have committed atrocious crimes.
Yeah.
The very first town you see,
Altoona, PA.
Altoona, Pennsylvania,
Wow.
because it's an A, and that's where I'm from.
Yeah.
And this is not where I thought this episode was going to go.
Well, you took it here.
I think that was me.
So-
That's probably my
And
fault.
still, this is not my first job, but multiple priests that were in my life, like the priest that married my parents, one of the priests I worked with, turned out to be creepers.
Wow.
Real talk. So Altoona, known for many things.
Huh.
Railroads, priests touching boys.
Roller
Anyway.
coasters too, right?
Roller coaster.
I remember
the
that.
oldest wooden roller coaster still in operation in the entire world is in
Just
Altoona.
say-
Have
enough
you
to
have
still
you
be in
been on it
operation.
before?
No, it's terrifying looking.
You've never been on
How
it.
can you
It's-
like make
It's
such
called the Leap
claims?
the Dips. It's from 1920s
Ew.
around there. We need a fact
It's
checker.
still operational?
It is, but the park it's in is going through some tough times
Okay.
and might be
that
torn
makes
down.
sense.
So
Leap the
Ooh.
dips.
Leap the Dips.
Leap
Look
the
it up.
dips.
Rolls
Um,
off the tongue.
Anyway, sorry, I'm not supposed to breathe that heavily.
We're early in this. Like
Yeah.
some days we'll look back on this like, man.
I'm a bigger
Look
boy
at
and I
those
I
guys.
get out of breath pretty easily.
Oh God!
okay,
Calling
so-
yourself a boy. Just-
So
Oh, man.
none of what I just said matters. My first real job, you guys were slackers. I actually started working at 15 and a half. 15.5. That's
yeah, we know what a half is.
rude.
I know
That was the
nice.
youngest you could start working.
was
You had
nice.
to go to, I want to say it was the public school, which I didn't go to. I went to a parochial, a private school,
Catholic school.
a Catholic school. That's like a bad word now, but you had to go to the public school to fill out a form to get a worker's permit.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
So before
sure.
16 is when everybody can work, but to work before you were 16, you had to get a worker's permit.
Mhm.
So I was so excited to work this specific job that I wanted to do it as soon as I could. I was a sous chef.
Oh, son of
You're
A sous chef at a. It wasn't like
Scottish
it wasn't
restaurant?
fine dining.
like I can't with
What's like sub fine?
McDonald's.
You killed- I had a whole thing. I had a whole thing happening here.
I like what you did there, Caitlin.
God. Yeah, I worked at McDonald's. Okay. I worked at McDonald's, and I don't know why. I was into it. I was excited to work at McDonald's. I was excited to work. I'm a very hard worker, just by my nature.
Yeah.
You know this.
I've not seen it.
As
but
much as I want to
take your
give you a hard
word
time,
for
it's
it.
true. I have seen.
I was so excited to work, and I also, let's be real, I love McDonald's, so it was like a match made in heaven. But
Match made in Mick Heaven. No.
I'm gonna
Ooh,
cut that out.
cheers to
No,
that.
that has to
I'm gonna
stay.
cut that out of the
That
pod.
absolutely has to stay.
Let's see. I was 15 and a half. I was making the federal minimum wage at that point, which was $5.15 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Funny story. I'm just gonna tell you the long history I had. I worked at McDonald's for 6 years.
Yeah.
So I started when I was
As a sous chef.
well, hold on. I worked my way up the ranks. So I worked. What was I? Sophomore in high school, junior in high school? I don't know. Whatever I was.
Yeah.
So all through high school. So 2 years in high school, and then while I went to a college. I was a pre-med major in college, and a lot of people I went to college with were very serious about their education.
Yeah.
Every summer they did internships.
Sure.
They did big important things during
Yep.
the summer.
Okay.
What did I do? Went back home and flipped burgers.
Yeah.
So I worked at McDonald's for 6 years.
With one break in there for Panera Bread.
I did work at Panera for a bit, but this is not second jobs. This is first jobs.
Right,
God.
but you're talking about the lineage in 6
True.
years.
That's
true.
true.
That's
I-
like a 5-year plus.
You're right.
thing.
So I spent 6 summers and a lot of weekends working at McDonald's, and I'm not gonna lie. I'll tell you what. I had an incredible time. I loved working at McDonald's because everybody there. There were two kind of people at McDonald's. There were the people that were McDonald's employees, like not lifers, but like
It kind of sounds like you.
it was their job.
Yeah.
And then there were people like me that were like high school or college kids that like were working their first job, and it was so much fun. We had so much fun working there. But I started as a when you first worked there, everybody that started their first thing was on the grill. So you would work the hamburger station, and it was just your job to just 8 hours in a row just make little burger after burger after burger after burger.
They come frozen, or what's the deal?
They did when I was there. I think
Okay.
they still do.
Okay.
Yeah, they came frozen. You'd grab a cylinder.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm describing it poorly, but like they weren't like individually wrapped patties.
Yeah, I get
So
it.
you'd kind of like pull out a cylinder, and you'd like
Put them all on
kinda-
together.
you'd kind of hit it against the side, so it would like break apart.
With
So you'd have
ice,
like
yeah.
individuals.
Was there paper in between the patties or
No.
Good
No.
question.
No, there was no paper. So then you put 9 down in an array.
Yeah.
3x3?
3x3. Yeah.
Okay, so
And then
okay.
you'd give it a little dash of salt and pepper mix. It was 60-40
on the frozen
salt.
burger, or
Um,
once it came up to
You
temperature.
know what? You're bringing me back. You didn't. It was after. So you'd put that. It had a top. It had a bottom. You'd do it. It was like 13 seconds. You take it off.
13 seconds aside,
Yeah, because it was super hot, and they're very thin burgers.
and they were pre-cooked. You were
No.
just
no,
warming.
no, they were raw.
Wow.
So from frozen to fully cooked, it was like 13 or 15 seconds. The more you know.
Wow. Yeah.
We're going to have to strike that. That might be a copyright infringement the more you know.
I think it's.
I don't know.
It's
If we get big
it's
enough
fair
to get
use.
strikes,
It's fair
like,
use.
So these
feel
burgers
good.
went on all the different McDonald's burgers.
So I do think that McDonald's / fast food is going to be its own episode.
So you don't
So
want to
Ooh,
get too far
I have
into
more
it.
to say.
But like
Yeah.
on
So
that
stay
question,
tuned,
how
but-
many different burger patties did
2.
you work with?
There's
Just a
there's
quarter
2
pound?
different patties.
Okay.
There's
Two different patties.
2 different patties.
What's the difference?
There's the
quarter
quarter pounder patty,
Oh,
which was called 4-to-1 because you did 4 patties at one time
instead of the 9.
instead of the 9. The other ones were called 10-to-1 because 10
Where'd-
of them
where'd
made
the
a pound.
Oh.
So 10 of the
Oh.
small patties was a pound.
But you only cooked 9/10
But
of
you
a
cooked
pound at a time.
Yeah,
Did
it
the
wasn't, it didn't matter how many pounds.
Okay.
Did the cylinder come in packs of 9?
No, it was like a I don't know, it was like this big.
Oh,
it was,
so
it was in a
you-
box, cylinder. So you grab, break, 9, grill.
So you'd
Right.
have some like other frozen ones still left over.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
there was a whole thing there.
So
But
your pre-med thing came in handy with all this, with all the math. And
I'll tell you what.
yeah, it sounds like
Pre-med
it.
didn't work out for me. I don't know if you know this or not. I'm not a surgeon, as was initially planned.
I can't believe Chad let you operate on him that one time.
But yeah, so I worked at McDonald's for 6 years, and I have a lot of stories to tell about
You
it.
sure do.
yes.
And I can't
Now
wait for
is-
that episode to come up.
Probably not the time.
I
go
don't
through it
think
all.
Just
so.
give us a taste. Just
Give
give
you
us
a
one.
taste.
Give us one.
Well, what I'm gonna tell you is that the camera.
has not been on this whole
No,
time.
it was.
Okay.
It goes for 30 minutes, and then you have to restart
Oh,
it.
got it. Okay.
So I'll do a cool splice. Nobody will even know
yeah,
any of
exactly.
this happened.
Yeah.
Throw up some logo stuff.
Hey, welcome back
Um,
to the live show. Why don't you
give
give
us
us a story? Hold on.
Okay, so one of my favorite things at McDonald's was the fact that you weren't allowed to, but you were able.
You could get away with it.
Good's an interesting word.
You could get away with eating as much food as possible. You could eat throughout the day, nonstop.
So inventory was not important at your McDonald's,
It was.
but you could fudge the
You
numbers.
could fudge the numbers. You get around things, you know.
Oh, I burnt these chicken nuggets.
I'm sure somebody at corporate was probably tracking and.
I think you
had
were
questions.
on a list. Yeah. There's
but
a reason you didn't make it to year 7.
Ooh.
yeah, I came to our current employer.
Mm.
So really, I've had 2 real jobs, McDonald's and what I do now.
Wow.
So I'm very experienced.
You got to do what you love.
But my favorite thing in the world.
The world.
Well, not in the world. I don't think you guys know this video
Ooh.
game, but some people might know the video game Metal Gear Solid.
Oh,
No.
yeah.
Really?
You know Metal Gear Solid?
I've heard of it.
Okay, it's a PlayStation game from, let's say, 1999, something like that. But it's a stealth game, and there are cameras. You have to avoid being seen by the cameras. So you kind of have to like
I know
you
where
have
this
to
is
like
going.
stick yourself to a wall
Yeah.
when you're underneath the camera, and then
Okay.
slide around it while like a
Like a cat burglar.
yeah, like
Yeah.
imagine like a camera that pans,
like a Mr.
right?
Magoo.
Yes.
Around this time, I was playing a lot of Metal Gear Solid, and so
you had some experience.
I styled myself
Jesus.
a stealth action hero. So
For those of
Did you
you
have a visor
listening,
on at
every
the
time I
time?
say
Of course
Jesus
I had a
Christ in
visor.
that voice, it's me putting my face into my palm.
you had the option of a visor or a hat. You know I chose the visor.
You gotta let those tips out.
And I wore my name tag on my visor, right on
Oh,
my forehead,
God, Elliot.
obviously.
What a cool kid.
Where was I?
You
So
were sneaking around the cameras because
So-
of Metal Gear Solid.
I snuck around because I felt cool, but also because I had to. Okay, there were cameras.
And it's always beautiful when those two things intersect.
There were cameras everywhere. Because
Probably
why
to
would,
make sure that people weren't stealing
why
food.
would they? Why would they
yeah,
trust?
they weren't for the customers. They were
No,
on
I mean,
you. Yeah.
no, they're all throughout the kitchen. So
Yeah.
of course they were. They. Why would you trust a bunch of 16, 17-year-old
Fair.
high school kids? But there was one angle that was not covered by the cameras.
And how did you come to know what was covered by the cameras? Could you see the room?
Yeah, you walk by the manager's office.
And you look at the
You
cameras.
see the cameras. You see the security camera, like
Wow.
like the
Yeah.
the boxy TV that has the quadrant.
3x3.
Yeah, well, yeah, yeah, and
I'm just
and
trying
you
to-
see what he sees.
I see
Yeah,
what you're
yeah.
trying to do.
So as you walk by, you kind of look in, you peek, you see where there is not
The
coverage.
blind spots.
You see the blind spots.
Yeah.
Thank you. So there was one blind spot where you could stand with your back to like a column and reach around. So frankly, I'll be honest, in the camera you could see the hand.
Just couldn't identify whose hand
But
it
you-
was.
Elliot started wearing like gloves everywhere.
But you couldn't see the owner of the hand. So you'd reach around, pull out a tray, and then all the nuggets you wanted
I
were
love
there
how
for the
like
taking.
it may have been blind, but you can tell like in the sequence of like, oh, Elliot's walking here, and then I don't see him coming to the next frame, but I do
Exactly.
see a
Totally.
random hand pulling
Totally.
out
There
a
was no
drawer and stealing a nug.
there was no mystery. Oh, not one nug.
So how many nugs were you good for a day?
easily 20 to 30.
20 to
'Cause this-
30 nuggets?
You know, if
No,
you're
I would throw down 20 to 30 nuggets right now in this moment and be happy.
Uber Eats nugs right now. I could go for some nugs, but if you're going through all the effort to like put your job and your life on the line,
Your
not-
life on the line.
you're not just grabbing one nug,
No, that's
right?
it.
You're
That's
grabbing
true.
you're grabbing a handful.
And you're putting them in your pockets. Or you're just palm
I'm
right.
getting there.
Okay.
So
This is our first episode. We gotta like stretch
yeah,
out this
fair.
material or have
So-
a
Yeah,
standalone.
fair.
you'd grab a handful of nugs. Let's say 4 to 5 in an
Some
average
all
You
handful.
in
could
mouth.
fit more than 4 to 5 nuggets in that
You
mitt
don't want
of
to get
yours.
greedy. You don't want to leave a trail of nugs if you're running away and you drop a nug.
It's like
Right? So you grab
Hansel and Gretel.
you grab a safe handful of nugs.
Yeah.
Okay. As you're bringing the nugs back, you take one, you eat it.
Yeah.
Right. So you have 3 to 4 nugs. Where do you put them? You can't eat them all at once. What do you do?
Right.
Right in the pockets.
Oof.
You slide them in your pockets. So I spent 6 summers,
Grease in your
8 hours a
pockets.
day,
Greasy pockets.
living
With a
with nugs in the
pocket
pockets.
full of nugget crumbs.
What do I call that?
Well, then,
I call it a pocket nugget.
That's good.
That's the story
That's a good one.
of my pocket nuggets and my first job.
Wow.
So that was a good topic.
Yeah, I think I took too long. Sorry
I think
about
I think we
it's a
did,
good
but
story.
that's the beauty. That's the beauty of our format. Is some topics we're gonna have the space for that level of
that.
conversation.
Mhm.
Other ones might be a little bit more brief, and
Fair.
all together
Yep.
we're gonna give people something to listen to.
And you know what? It was like hearing it for the first time. Because I've heard that story several times, but I never sort of understood just the hand.
Yeah, we
The
took a different
hand
path
in the
to
camera.
the same
Yeah, that
destination.
Okay,
was-
so anybody who
That
knows
was
us
something.
knows the story because usually the two of you and a couple other people
I've literally
I've
heard this story
but
17
At
times.
least.
every
yeah, I'd say.
time we meet somebody new,
It's like
somehow
hearing it. It's like hearing it for the first time. Yeah.
everyone's like, "Tell the nugget story," and I have to tell it. So every time I
It
try
is
to add
our own fault.
another
Yeah,
little piece of
The
color,
little layer. Another nugget.
Nugget.
another nugget of information.
Oh,
Wow.
So that's
Well, we've all come a long way, haven't we?
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, I don't.
I would
think
do
so
the
either.
exact same
That's-
thing today.
That's not what I was. Yeah.
No.
And frankly, part of me wants to. I loved working at McDonald's. I think
You've thought about it recently, working
so.
shifts.
You lit up like a Christmas tree when you saw that McDonald's University. You sent us all those
God.
selfies
Oh
in
my
front of it a
God.
couple
I
months
was so-
ago.
I travel a lot for work. We work for an organization that has sites all around the country, and part of my job is to travel to those sites and do what I do. And I
Take
was in
photographs.
Chicago and photograph, and I was in Chicago, and I finished photographing an event, and I it was late, and I didn't feel like going to a place because, like, you go to a restaurant, you sit down alone.
Yeah.
It can be weird,
It's,
especially
it's
when
a
it's
lot.
like
yeah, sure.
especially when it's like prime dinner time.
yeah.
When
That
it's like
makes sense.
9 p.m.
And then people kind of look at you like you're taking up a
Right,
table.
right,
That would
right.
drive you crazy,
Oh
I'm
my
sure.
God.
Yeah.
I've been seated because I have to eat alone a lot.
yeah.
That sounds sad. When I travel, I'm often traveling alone, and generally when I go to a restaurant, they seat you at the 2-person table,
Sure.
or at the bar.
Sure.
I've been seated before at like
Like a
like
four
a,
top.
like a 6-top
That-
round table.
Whoa.
That's rude.
It
of
was.
that. Of that.
I was
host.
actually in El Salvador about a year ago. Carla, my wife, is from El Salvador, or her parents
family,
are. Family is. I was in El Salvador. My flight got delayed. I was sent to. I had a connection in Bogota, Colombia. I don't think I've actually told you the story. I had a connection in
I don't think
Bogota,
so.
Colombia, because of a snowstorm here in Boston, and so I couldn't get home. So I had to spend.
You had like
like,
24 hours.
It was
there or
24
something.
hours, 30 hours in Bogota, but like, I didn't have enough like time to do anything.
Yeah.
Because I spent a lot of those hours in the airport because they wouldn't tell me anything. So
Yeah.
I ended up only having whatever. But I went to the restaurant, and it was one of those things like, you get delayed or canceled, so they give you a food voucher,
Sure,
a hotel voucher.
sure.
So it was that hotel. So there were a bunch of people in Colombia and people from El Salvador who were stuck where they were,
Yeah.
and I was one of the very few
People traveling
English
alone.
speakers,
Oh, okay.
but also, non-Spanish speakers is the more
Yeah.
important part. So I was nervous the whole time because I didn't have Carla with me, and she's normally my, the person that helps me. But I went to the restaurant there, And I was like, it's just me. And even explaining that was a challenge. But they seated me in a busy restaurant. That's where I sat at the 6-person table. It was
That is
just me.
Mortifying.
And the whole time I was getting like daggers shot at me from people
Like,
standing there
who does
waiting.
this guy think he is?
Like, because there were a lot of people
at
like
this
me
prince.
Yeah.
who were stuck there. They don't want to be there. They weren't. They were like finishing or starting their vacation,
Yeah,
and they got
yeah.
stuck. And they just wanted to eat this crappy food. It was such a terrible restaurant.
Yeah.
But there was a line of people, and they seated me at a table of 6 chairs, and I took up the whole chair. And there
Now,
was a
did you sit in the middle of the table, or you just
it was
right at the
around,
end?
so I was alone.
I like that because like I remembered that part, but when you're like, I was like,
It was a round table, so I had.
So yes is the answer.
Yeah. So I had
Wow.
all the space in the world,
King
and there was a
Arthur.
family of 5.
Oh,
Standing, waiting, just looking at me, and I was like, "I'll
And
move.
if I know anything about you, having that family of 5 sit down with you at that table probably would have
Oh,
been the worst thing.
I'd have been mortified.
Yeah,
I'd
yeah.
have been mortified.
Wow.
So this is going to be another hour long
Yeah, it's feeling that
episode.
way.
I mean,
We're working to get down to 40 minutes for our listeners, but if you're hopping on, this
there'll
is
be a little bit of cutting here and there. Maybe. I'd rather not.
I mean, you'll have to listen through and figure out what to
Yeah.
slice out. So
You did talk
if you want to.
uninterrupted for quite a stretch.
Ooh,
Nobody needs that.
zing!
I'm sorry for that.
Don't be an Elliot.
Caitlin,
So-
do you wanna bring the next?
Oh yeah,
topic,
okay,
or
sure. So
should
I had like more of a question than a
Okay,
topic.
okay.
Oh, phrase
Um,
it in a. I'll tell you.
I'll
what.
tell you what, I have a question.
Yes, that's all I was looking
Yeah,
for.
thank you.
Feels like cheating, but I appreciate it.
Well,
That's how they do it on Jeopardy. Like, who is a Saint Bernard?
who is a Saint Bernard? Out of this trio, Elliot.
Big boy.
Slap that on a T-shirt.
All right, so my question is, now if there are, the Olympics, all of the world's greatest athletes doing, performing feats that none of us could ever imagine, right?
Yes.
Of course, my question is, if there were an Olympics for normal people, for doing normal things, right?
Ooh.
Like folding the laundry,
Not me.
stealing.
Me.
What would your Olympic sport be? Like what everyday kind of thing are you so good at
Ooh.
that you could compete with the best in the world
I got you. I
in
got
that
you
activity?
right now.
Yeah, hit me.
Because I did it this morning.
Oh.
Chad.
So I have a pretty
Should I be
standard routine. Every morning, I have the same breakfast, at least during the week.
Oh, okay.
I
What's
have
that?
2 fried eggs. and
before work? Good
yeah.
for you.
So I
That's usually when you have breakfast.
no, but I mean to
generally
make
speaking.
breakfast.
So
Sorry,
I
Chad.
make my coffee and I have my 2 fried eggs and I listen to the news report and then I brush my
I don't
teeth
want
and
to
then
tell
I
you
head
what
to
my
work.
morning is.
But I have a small frying pan that I put those 2 eggs in, crack them in, pop the yolks,
Yeah.
and then as it's just right, I'll actually sprinkle a little bit of everything but the bagel
Oh
seasoning.
my God, manna from
in there.
heaven.
And then I take that over and I do it over the sink because I'm not 100%, but I am very good at
If this is
shaking
going
it-
where I think it is,
shaking
I
it
am
and
impressed.
flipping it. And so I 90% of the time can then take those 2 eggs, flip them over just right.
Now, you do this every day, right?
5
5 days a week.
Yep.
For how many weeks?
I've been doing this for 10 months, I believe.
10 months. Okay,
Oh.
so almost a year. So
That's
that's
significant training.
hundreds of days,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You still go to the sink?
That's
So
I mean,
you gotta trust
fair
yourself,
question,
man.
fair question. Because when this started, it was 1 egg that I was doing, and I was
Sure.
having something
you can do
supplemental.
that anywhere.
And so, somebody has
Hold
a
on.
What
routine
happened?
set
Hold
up.
on.
What happened to the lighting in
Excuse
here?
me. Hey, Google. Turn on the lights in the living room.
So
Wait
you
for
have
it.
a routine set up for 8 o'clock to shut off the light? How early do you go to
What time do you
bed?
I
Elliot?
can't.
So for
explain
those of listening, Google just turned off the lights at 8 o'clock p.m. Our house is the same thing. It's between 11:15 and 11:45.
I'll be honest. I'm not sure why that happened.
Ooh. Oh, Google probably knew that you were cheating on her with Alexa in the kitchen.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
right.
want to talk about that.
Ooh.
That's off.
That's a whole
off
nother
limits.
topic. But the reason I go over the sink is 1 egg I'll do over the stovetop, but 2 eggs, there's enough volume in there that sometimes it'll splash
It'll
a little
slip.
bit. And cleaning up a stovetop is a mess, especially if you have gas.
He's
So
practical, man.
if it's in the sink, spray it down, good to go.
Huh.
Huh.
Wow, egg flipper. That's pretty good, Chad. I'm
Yep.
impressed by that.
Mm-hmm. Whole 30
Wow.
approved too.
That's true. Holy.
That's a topic.
Mhm.
I am not good at much,
Elliot, that can't be true.
but there's one thing I am
Ooh.
good at. And actually, there's a good friend of ours that is better at what I'm about to say. So
Yeah.
frankly, I wouldn't even compete out of our friend group of 15 people. I can blow dry my beard.
Oh, Christ.
Yeah, it's true.
It is
So-
true. You do have good
Yeah.
angles, and you
Just-
show up on
Just like Chad, every morning, one of the things I do, gotta blow dry the beard. I have the routine down so well that 25 seconds I can be done, in and out, good to go, looking fresh. Those on video, they know the deal. They know what they're.
No, I do appreciate this. There's days that you'll come in and maybe
Chad.
the hair isn't there, maybe the clothes aren't there. The beard is always there.
I mean, the beard is the first thing you see. You know,
And it's
eyes,
true.
forget it. Clothes, nope.
It's the beard.
You gotta get the beard.
But so
Beard
when
tattoos.
we talked last week, you said you were considering getting rid of it.
I am. I'm a paradox. I'm an enigma. I'm never happy with anything. I'm never pleased. I'm always in a constant state of questioning my decisions.
Interesting. Well, I imagine you'll save yourself a lot of time in the morning, though.
Well, because then I'd have to shave.
You could go to bed a little bit later.
Oh, yeah.
My lights could turn off at a more sensible
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
But yeah, that's what I do every day. I feel like I'm pretty good at it. But Johnny Vaught,
Mm.
Great at it.
You may know
Yeah, I
him
mean, that's a beard that moves mountains.
way better at it than I am.
Sure.
That is
Sure.
absolutely for sure.
I think that's his profession, though, too.
Yeah.
He is
I
a
think
professional hairdresser. He did
he'd
go to
be
school.
willing to
for
mentor
it.
you, though. He'd love that.
I mean, I think that's how Ellie got into it. Was a
I think you're
poignant
right.
conversation
I
with
think you're
Johnny.
right.
Caitlin, what would
What?
be
Yeah,
your?
I know. So I asked the question without an answer for myself in mind.
Hold on a second.
Okay.
We will splice this in. This card is full. So let me really quickly change the card, if you will.
Take your time.
Should we have a what's Bill O'Reilly style, like yelling at the production crews?
Come on!
Really?
You think I got all day?
Jesus
I show up. I do my job. You can't do your job.
Fuck it. We'll do it live. Fuck it.
Chad, my
Fuck it. I'll
goodness.
do it live.
All right, we are back.
Oh,
We
right.
are
that little
back. All right.
tirade.
So I asked the question without having an answer for myself in mind, but in reflecting and not listening to you two while you were talking and thinking about my own answer. No, I think I hate this to come across as boastful, but I'm a pretty good parallel parker.
Ooh.
I'm pretty good.
Do you have a backup camera?
I
You
do.
must.
I do now. Obviously.
But you were good before that.
I was
She
good
wasn't
before
at
that.
16 though.
Not at 16, no. So I identified a skill that I needed to develop, and I worked at it for years and years. But Chad, I mean, remember that time we were in Philly a couple months ago, and
Oh.
I parallel
holy
parked
shit.
Elliot. There was what, maybe a half an inch on each bumper,
It's like, and she couldn't
Wedged
take
it
the
in
wheels
there.
off. Like, we
and
do
I
with
think
this
I was
table.
like pretty much a one shot.
That is
in.
risky to see.
I'm good at it.
To see
Yeah.
a spot that is clearly
Too
you
small.
should just drive by.
I know.
But you go for it.
No, and I do it on the left and on the right.
Ooh, left
Yeah.
is
That's good.
tough.
I know.
Left.
So, anyways,
Do you feel like now that you're used to having the backup camera,
I
that
use
if
it
you
more.
that if
Yes.
you got to a car that didn't have a backup camera, you would have been worse at it?
That's a good question.
'Cause I feel
yeah,
that way.
maybe, perhaps.
I feel like not an Olympic level
Yeah.
parallel parker, but I'm decent. I'm
Sure.
okay.
Sure.
But now that I have a car that has a backup camera, now I'm used to that.
Yeah.
If I were to go back to a car, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know
Ooh,
if
I
I'd be
feel
as
like
good as
this
I
could
used
Yeah,
to be.
that's fair.
This could be an excursion someday. Once this gets up
Yeah,
and
set the
going,
cones up.
we could actually do these as Olympic events. We could all like do some egg flipping.
That's
we'd do
true.
some
Like,
parallel
is
parking,
Chad
we
better than
could-
the average? Yeah. Yeah, I like
It's
that
We could
idea.
get Caitlin a fake beard to blow
Yeah,
dry,
blow
and we
dry.
could see,
I have a lot of
yeah.
experience with the blow dryer too, though, so I don't think
Ooh,
going
yeah.
from up here to down
had
here
to-
is going
I-
to be that difficult
I
for
had to
me.
learn my skills. Nobody
Yeah.
taught me.
Well, you probably that wrist probably got a lot stronger. Maybe not.
Well, great topic. We I
Yeah.
think learned different things.
We
from
did.
that. Now I feel like mine. It's coming from a different angle, but I'm still gonna throw it out there. I'll tell you what. I think I would have killed it living in the 80s. So, with that in mind, I want to know, like, if we, in our imaginations, how do you think you would have existed in that decade? Like, the style, and, like, what do you think you would have done with your time? If
In the
you-
80s, or we
yeah.
get to pick a decade that
No,
we would have
in the
thrived
80s, like,
in? Oh.
what would you have done?
I think I'm not one that's really up with the times, right? So you're saying if we were 30, like we're in our 30s
Yeah.
now, if we were in our 30s in the 80s,
Yeah, even
Okay.
go, like, late 20s, like,
Sure,
when we
sure,
started hanging
sure.
out, like, our friend groups.
when we became adults.
Yeah, yep.
I'm never one to like be up with the times. Like I'm not hip. I don't wear the clothes of the times.
Sure.
You know, I'm in a t-shirt now. You guys are both looking good.
You were nervous because we decided we were going to put this
I was
podcast on
not
video,
nervous.
and you were in a t-shirt, and you said, you know what, I gotta change. I gotta look good for this. We're gonna be on camera. So you took off one dark colored t-shirt
Yep.
and replaced it with a
not-
different
but-
dark colored
but
t-shirt.
The thing you're missing is this is a V-neck.
Oh, I didn't notice
The other one
that.
was
Yeah,
a
but the
crew.
beard.
And the
kinda-
camera's on the
yeah.
side, so it can't.
Yeah, so that was
It
weird.
makes me
Elliot.
feel better. Okay.
All right,
Okay,
sure.
that-
I don't
that's
even know
fair
what I'm
enough, that's
talking
fair
about.
Why do you like the V-neck? Do
Okay.
you feel like it elongates the
I
torso
feel
in
no.
a different way?
I feel like it with
You just like a
With a beard, with
little,
beard.
little notch.
the V in the shirt almost gives the beard a place to exist.
That,
You know,
It's like a notch.
I knew where he was going.
it's like that kids game where you put the shape in the shape. The beard fits into the V-neck.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
you're saying you
like a
probably
nugget
would've-
in a pocket.
You
Sorry.
would have worn 70s style like clothing.
I
in
would
the
have
80s?
worn the most normal clothing in the world.
Mm.
But what I would have done is I would have been listening to I wouldn't have been a fan of pop music. I don't
Mm.
think. I'm not so much a fan of pop music now. And I
Okay.
think that would have stayed true. So like what are some 80s rock bands? I'm blanking now. like,
Def Leppard,
Def Leppard.
Bon Jovi.
Yeah.
You would have been a Bon
Poison.
Jovi fan.
I probably would have been like a hair band fan. I probably would have had long hair. I probably
yeah,
would- I-
you would have
yes,
had
I
long
probably would've-
hair.
Yes.
I probably would have blow dried the hair.
Oh, for sure. A
I
lot of
would've-
mousse.
I would've-
V8, like, not, is it V8? No,
That's
the
the
hot,
juice.
The hot,
8
oil.
track. Oh, VO5.
VO5 hot oil
I
treatment.
love
Yeah.
V8.
I think
Sorry.
I think I would have had long hair. I think I probably wore a lot of denim.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah,
I think
that all tracks.
Acid
I don't know
wash.
if I would have found this, but I think I probably would have been a photographer then too, and I
Oh,
think
yep.
it would have been
Oh.
a little bit cooler because back then it was film. There was no
Yeah,
digital,
yeah.
obviously back then, and I just think there's something a little bit more sexy about film photography.
Yeah,
and I
sure.
just feel like nowadays with smartphones,
Anybody can do it.
I mean, realistically, every single person has a camera with them at all times.
Yeah.
So the value of a photograph has dipped.
Yep.
I
Sure.
think there's still art in it. There's
Yeah.
still a professional level, but there is a point when people think that they think that they're doing it. you
Yeah,
know?
sure.
And everybody should.
Might be time to head back to McDonald's, it sounds like.
Well, there was McDonald's back then. I probably, as a 16-year-old, would have worked at McDonald's. That wouldn't have
It
changed.
sounds like it.
But back then, being a photographer, to be a pro photographer, I feel like it would have been a much more rare thing.
Sure.
Mhm.
And there would have probably been less people trying to do it. And
Yep.
like taking a photograph, like a good photograph, would have been something a little bit more special back
Yeah,
then.
Okay.
the skill and like, because it took a while to figure out if you did it right. Now you can take 100 photos
Totally.
and choose the best one out of
Totally.
it.
So I think I would have been a long-haired, maybe rock and roll photographer.
Rock
That'd be
and
cool.
roll.
Yeah. That's what I would have done.
Cool. Caitlin, any thoughts? from you?
Wow.
I've got some ideas.
I elevated
For me,
myself
or
to like
for-
a
I
really
think
cool
you would
dude.
have rocked a pantsuit.
I was thinking that, Chad, and I
Yes.
would like take the subway to work and like wear like those high top white Reeboks
Yes.
with it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I thought that about myself.
Mhm.
And maybe
can see
like a sort of a tighter haircut, like
Oh yeah.
out a little bit.
Wire. You would have had metal glasses.
Yeah, the big
Yeah, metal.
ones.
Yeah, the big
Maybe
ones.
like
Yeah.
the pantsuit with like the turtleneck underneath
Yeah,
and like
ribbed.
the necklace right
Yeah,
over.
oh,
Yep.
definitely. That would be me.
Mhm.
Oh my God,
What
a
would- what would-
dream.
What was your job? What would you have? What would you have done?
I don't know. I'd have to think about it.
She'd be like finance lady.
Yeah, nothing like fun, probably.
Right. Just to, you live a good life.
Yeah, and I'd want one of those like the big. These wouldn't have been out yet, but like the big cell phone, like the Zach Morris style.
Sure. When was that? 90s?
Yeah, must
Mid
have
to
been.
late 90s?
I
was
feel
the
like
big phones?
89 though.
Oh, really?
I feel
all
like
right,
it,
all right.
All right.
At least as a prop,
Yeah.
Sure.
So I think I would have done a lot of cocaine.
You know,
I think just knowing my personality and knowing like at least my perception of what the time was, I think I would have been into new wave music.
Oh,
I think I would
yeah.
wear the flashy colors, and I think I would have like because it was before Dare,
Was it before
I
Dare?
think so.
Wow.
But like also I feel like the way I got into coffee, I feel like I might have been introduced to cocaine, and I'd be like, "This is awesome."
trading a drug for a drug.
And then like I
Yeah.
just would have went down the road, and I would have like been listening to new wave music, funky like mullet, and my hair is like
Oh, yeah.
naturally set up for a mullet.
I could see that.
I get
he's
these
from
Mississippi
big
mud
time.
flaps
Midwest.
coming in,
Mississippi
and like
mud
or
flaps.
like little like mullets in
Oh,
the back.
like a small curl.
Yep. So
almost,
if I
yeah.
just like go a little, like it's time for me to like, oh, I should have like scheduled a haircut, and I go like 3 weeks too long, it starts to come in right back there,
It
and
does.
so
I'd like to see that.
You don't. It's pretty gross.
so
I
for
think
for our fans out there, if you want me and Elliot to grow out our mullets, and Caitlin to get a haircut like one, let us know in the comments.
Yeah, that'd be kind of fun.
No.
A group like outing together.
All right, I'm in. I think
So-
also back then, I think coffee, and I wasn't alive then, but I think coffee was a lot less interesting. There was less going on with coffee
It was
in
like
America.
a Folgers
Yeah, you had-
situation. Yeah,
you
sure.
had coffee, and that's what it was.
Right.
There wasn't like coffee
Mhm.
shops,
Yeah.
and there wasn't like.
I think
I
there's
don't know
just,
if
like,
espresso
diners
was-
from
But
it.
you're like a
Yeah, I
pretty
think there
like
must
you
have
don't do
been.
anything too jazzy with your coffee. You're like a black iced coffee.
No, I'm saying Chad. Now he's into coffee, but back
Okay.
then coffee wouldn't have sustained like an interest for that long,
Yeah.
so he would have had to find other avenues
So
for his enjoyment.
cocaine.
And
yeah.
also,
So
I want to
cocaine.
acknowledge
Sure.
that
That's what
I've
I'm
never utilized cocaine. So, like, this is
He's
all.
never utilized.
It's everything
cocaine.
I've seen from the movies.
Sure.
My understanding of like
Chad,
where
your
it was in
admission
my
of
head.
your non-cocaine use just brought down our cool factor.
I'm a square. I mean, here I
It's
am.
tough to go from 0 to
I mean-
negative.
I mean, the other day I was talking about how like I see a nice pair of slacks, and I'm like,
Oh,
ooh,
yeah,
that's a
that
nice
was
pair of
tough.
I
slacks.
feel the
Say
need to also
slacks. Yeah.
admit I've never done cocaine. I mean,
Same, yeah.
well, here's 3
Truth-
non-cocaine users.
Truth telling.
And we should change the name of this to 3 Squares on
Yeah.
a square table.
I do like the table though. I think this was
Yes.
Yeah, the
good
table in
idea.
the living room
yeah.
in a totally uncomfortable situation.
Yeah, I mean, despite the effort to take off the
It
legs
was-
and then have to put back on the legs and eventually
was-
take them off and
it
put them
was a
back on and put
situation,
them in the
but we-
kitchen again.
we
And,
did
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
we just leave it here. They can see the TV over top of the table.
Yeah, that's true.
How often do you eat at your kitchen table in the kitchen?
Rarely.
See?
We eat on our little coffee table. And
Oh,
we're
see
hunched
how-
over.
how much
So you could just
nicer is
sit
this?
here.
Yeah.
You could just sit here and eat.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
It's really
You know,
not bad.
that
I
makes
think
me
Carla
think
would
my
like it.
house, we have a kitchen, like an eat-in kitchen table and a dining room table. You know where we eat?
On the couch.
Yep, on the couch,
Yeah.
coffee table. That's where we
Right.
eat most of
Yeah.
it.
Eh.
Well, I'd say this was a success.
I would,
Yeah.
I would agree.
Let's
Yeah.
bring it home.
I
what
think
are our
we could give a
final?
blue ribbon to this podcast if you want. Awkward
So,
transition.
hey,
Oh, cheers.
hey, cheers, all of us. So, to wrap it all up, what we really want, send us your questions. Send us your comments.
Hit them with the email address again.
If you need
Ill.
advice, type in to your browser, not your browser, to your email client, he'll tell you what podcast
He'll
at
tell you
gmail.com. Send us whatever you feel.
Just really anything, because we probably haven't gotten any emails yet.
There's like 2 emails in there,
Welcome
and they're
to
both
Gmail.
like confirm your email address for your podcast services that you've had to sign up for. So I'd love to see.
They're going to be lonely.
I'd love to see a human in there.
Yeah.
So send us a thought. Maybe your question will make it to air.
First come, first served.
Yeah. Thanks
All right,
for joining us
that's
this
a
week.
wrap.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Hit that outro.
But-
Well, that was something.
And cut.